Hello, my friend, and welcome back. Today, I'd like to talk about abundance and the fact that you and we are abundant beings. And I want to talk about kind of what that means because that really plays out in every aspect of our lives. And if you think about it, you may think, well, I'm not living in abundance right now, so I'm not an abundant being. Well, that's not true. So you can have an abundance. Abundance doesn't necessarily mean wealth or affluence or riches. Abundance just means a lot of. And if you think about it, if you think about like phases of your life or times in your life that you've gone through things, you may have maybe you could maybe connect the dots for similar themes. Like, okay, let's take something that we don't like, sickness. Did you ever notice that sometimes, like when you have an illness or a health issue, sometimes it's one thing after the other? That's the phrase I'm looking for. So, we have the saying that when it rains, it pours. Well, that is the abundance of us coming through. So when it's kind of one thing after another, sometimes you can be in a lower vibration. Sometimes you can be in a time of transition and you are kind of attracting a lot of things one after the other. It's because you're an abundant being. So when you go through change, you go through an abundance of change. When you go through illness, sometimes you go through an abundance of illness. Sometimes it's kind of like they may be spaced out by a little bit of time, but it just kind of seems like, oh, one thing after another. And when you are in lack, say lack of money, sometimes you end up in an abundance of lack of money. And or an abundance of bills. And I'm not trying to give these negative examples to put it in your head, but I'm just trying to bring your attention to the fact that regardless of what you're experiencing, you are always an abundant being. So what our lesson is and what we need to learn and what we need to bring our awareness to is that if we are attracting an abundance of anything, any or everything anyways, that we need to position ourselves to be attracting an abundance of things that we want in our lives. An abundance of joy, an abundance of laughter, an abundance of love, an abundance of money, an abundance of opportunity. And the way that we do those things is we do it by our vibration, because we live in a world of attraction where we attract things, and we are also an abundant being, so we can attract an abundance of those things. So, you can take this message and feel kind of bad about it and scared, like, oh, I don't want to attract an abundance of this, or I don't want to be in abundance of that, and just like rephrasing the word and then but still talking about it in a negative way. What you really want to do is understand that you're an abundant being and understand that you have some control. I don't want to say complete control over what you attract in your reality, because, we are here to learn lessons, and we don't learn those lessons in times of comfort. So therefore, sometimes things have to happen in our lives for us to learn lessons. That's kind of a different subject. So, but you, with your awareness to the fact that you're an abundant being and that you are also a vibrational being that attracts like vibrations, then you can then start to kind of mold and formulate yourself to wanting to be bringing the things, into your life that you want to be bringing into your life. And we do that by keeping our vibration high, by focusing on what we want, by giving our energy and attention to the things that we want, and to things that bring us joy and fill us with love and fill us with that bliss or with gratitude or things that make you stop in the moment and just say, oh my goodness, I love this, whatever it is. For me, it's playing with the dog. It's just something as simple as that. Just sometimes when I'm playing with him, I'm just like, it's just so much fun. And to watch him have so much joy from us playing brings me so much joy. So that is some of what we need to start focusing on and keep focusing on is our vibration. And I feel like this is the message that kind of keeps coming through over and over and over is our attention to our vibration and keeping that vibration high, because we are abundant beings, so we don't even realize how powerful we are because we were never taught how powerful we are. So maybe some of us were, but most of us were taught to seek power from the outside of ourselves. You get power by, being a boss over other people. And then, I feel like this is showing my age, but, the rapper Lil' Kim, first you get the money and then you get the power. So she is saying that money equates to power. These are little things, these are little seeds that have been planted in us in our entire lives. But the truth is that we hold the power within ourselves, and the power to create our reality. What bigger power is there? How is there more power than being able to create reality? Like you can, you can talk to the highest CEO that, controls or has power over thousands of employees. But without that understanding of creating their reality, and coupled with the fact that that person might think that they get power from doing things like that, from having dominance or control over other people, is going to leave them constantly seeking that power. Now, if they were to understand that they were an abundant being and that they have the power within themselves to create their reality through their vibration, because they are an abundant being, so if they keep their vibration high, they're going to attract an abundance of that vibration. Maybe then, I'm not saying that they wouldn't do that job, that they wouldn't be that CEO, but then they would not be seeking constantly. Because if you notice, a lot of times that yearn for more, that what drives people, because you may think about it and be like, okay, what drives someone to want to be CEO of a company? They start at the bottom and they kind of work their way up, or they put themselves in a position to become CEO. And then if you think about it, like all the hours they work, all the brain time they put into that, and everything that goes into them becoming CEO, sometimes it can seem exhausting. And sometimes you can look at a person and say, where is that drive coming from? Well, a lot of times that drive is coming from that seeking of that power, that constant seeking, because, they may not have started to want to be CEO, but they got a promotion and that felt kind of good. Then they got promoted to manager and they had a few people under them, and that felt really good, but it just quite wasn't enough. So then they want to work harder and take that next step up, and then they want to work harder and take that next step up. And what they don't realize is that drive is coming from that seeking. And I'm not saying that if they weren't seeking on the outside that they would just be complacent in the mailroom and never want to move up. We always want to move up and we always want to grow. But sometimes, if you notice, people in the highest positions of power, you can tell that it's never enough. And you can tell that it's never enough because they have to roll into other things and more things, and what's the next step. And you see someone who is at the very top, but then it also doesn't seem like enough for them. And you're like, well, why? And the reason is because they are not acknowledging the fact of how powerful and abundant they truly are. within themselves without anything else. And that is where that seeking comes from. That is where that drive comes from. Because if you continue to seek from outside of yourself, if you want to seek abundance from outside of yourself, and I'm talking about abundance in a way of something that you want, an abundance of love, abundance of life, abundance of laughter, abundance of money. If you continue to seek that from outside of yourself, you will always be seeking and it will never be enough. But if you come to realize that that abundance of those things comes from within, and that satisfaction, that fulfillment, that power of having that comes from within, because you are an extremely powerful, abundant being. Once you are able to turn that inward, that is where we are able to then go on our true paths, the paths that bring us the highest joy, the paths that we were meant to be on. Because then it enables to, when you realize that all of that comes from within and you don't need to be seeking power, and you know that you're an abundant being, so this 3D reality is attracted to you by you, because you are the abundant being. You are the vibrational abundant being that attracts everything into your life. Once you get into that power, you will find that a lot of the things that you were seeking and wanting and desiring on the outside of your life change. I'm not going to say they fall away because you just want different things, but it changes, and that is okay. We were not meant to be one thing, and once you're in a career, this is who you are for the rest of your life. Like, no, it's okay to change. And a lot of times, sometimes it happens overnight, but sometimes it's also a process. So what I think that we are really encouraged to dive deep in right now is within ourselves, is that power within ourselves. The fact that we are an abundant being, once we start to truly acknowledge it, that will help us to kind of feed into our own power, that inner power. Because, I mean, knowing that I'm an abundant being that completely attracts my reality, that makes me feel pretty powerful. Like I even just now, I could feel the rush from my head, from my toes up to my head, right at just as I said that. Just as I said that. Because we are powerful, vibrational, abundant beings. So our words have so much power. So you can make yourself feel something just by saying that. And as I said that, I literally felt a rush from my feet up into my head as I said that. And that makes me feel amazing. It makes me feel powerful. It makes me feel like I can handle anything, and I can go out there and I can complete this mission, and I can be truly present in my mission about why I am here on this earth. And the acknowledgement of me being a powerful vibrational being, an abundant being, helps to clear out a lot of the human ego things that I wanted, or that I desired. And it's not that I don't deserve those things or I don't desire some things. It's just that I am no longer seeking on the outside, because I know everything comes from within. So I am not looking to have a designer handbag to validate me or to make me feel good so I can wear it on my hip and to have everyone else see that I have a designer handbag on me. And I'm not saying that wanting a designer handbag is bad. I'm saying if you want that designer handbag to validate you, to show how powerful you are, or to make you feel good by showing it to others, it's okay if you look at something and it sparks joy. That's great. But you have to truly ask yourself, why do I want this? Why is this in my life? I'm an abundant being and I can have anything I want, but I'm here on a clear mission that might not be clear to me right now, but it is a clear mission. where do I go from there? How do I navigate this? What is the best route for me? And the best route is to acknowledge your power, acknowledge your abundance, and then look through the goggles of your life from then and ask, as a powerful vibrational being, an abundant being, what do I want to do with my time? What do I want to do while I'm here? If I could never fail, if I could never fall, and that doesn't mean, I don't mean that in a human aspect to where things won't fail, but never failing is keeping going. It's not having mini failures on the way. You can only really fail in life is if you give up. And just say you had a business and that failed and you're like, oh, I'm a failure. No, you're not. That business failed. Also, if it failed off the bat, that's one thing, but like businesses go through cycles. So if it went through its cycle and then it died, that is not a failure. Also, if you learned one thing from that failure, then it is not a failure. It is only a failure if you throw in your towel and you're like, that's it. But the idea of failure gets very small and very unintimidating once you realize and acknowledge the powerful, abundant being that you are. Because you know you can just pick yourself up and keep going. You know there's something else. You have that faith that that happened for a reason, and it is redirecting you onto a path that is better suited for you. You know, having that faith. But having that faith in yourself of being an abundant being gives you the power and the drive and the will and the know-how, you have guidance to pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and be like, what's next? What's next for me? What's next for me? I can do something else. I can move on. That wasn't right for me because it didn't work out, and thank you for that, and let's keep going, because I'm an abundant being and I can attract all the opportunities in the world. I can attract all of the stairs that I need to take to step into what I want to do. And that is the aspect, that is the attitude that we need to start coming from, because that scarcity and lack fear mindset does not serve us one iota, because we're powerful, abundant beings, and having that wet blanket of fear and lack on us is just those sandbags holding our hot air balloon down. And like I said before, we need to be cutting those sandbags to let us rise, because we are naturally high vibrational beings, naturally abundant beings, and we don't have to do anything to become abundant beings. We already are, even with all these wet blankets and sandbags. Because if you look around in your life, you know, you will find the abundance of things. So it's just the kind of abundance that we need to bring our awareness to and keep our vibrations high, so we are attracting the kind of abundance that we want to attract, because we are vibrational beings. Okay? So that is our message on abundance today. I'm recording this on a Monday, so if you're watching this on a Monday, let us move through this week with ease and grace, knowing how abundant and powerful we truly are. So I want to thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Ann, and I hope to see you tomorrow.